Thundercats fans, got a brand new Thundercats release to take a look at today on the channel. It is Super7's Ultimates Lion-O figure. It is just released on Big Bad Toy Store, so if you're interested in picking one of these up, you can follow the link in the video description. So one of the reasons that I don't really get all caught up in all of these pre-orders, all that type of stuff, is because of what happened in 2016 when the original version of this figure was released on MattyCollector.com. After years of dealing with Matty Collector and all of the frustration of having to log in at a certain time and order the thing before it goes out of stock and everyone else grabs one, I was not able to get the original version of this Classics, as they were called before, Classics Thundercats Lion-O. I got the Panthro, Pumaira, the Wily Kit, and Wily Cat figures, but I was not able to snag this one, and it turned me off of, rushing through the ordering process, trying to beat everybody else in line, in a virtual line, online, getting an item. I am not a line waiter. I've never been one for going out for Black Friday or any of those other big sales, and I equally detest online lines. So not being able to get this Lion-O back then was kind of the nail in the coffin of, I'm not doing the Target or Walmart or whatever else website has this thing where everyone flocks and tries to grab a limited quantity. And, I've often said on my channel, plastic finds a way. Just be patient and you'll eventually find it one way or another. And all those years ago, I wanted this guy, not a lot, but I thought it would be cool to get another interpretation of Lion-O. I really like the Bandai Lion-O, but I thought it would be cool to get this one, and it's fine. I let it go, moved on, and here we are, a couple of years later, 4 years later. Super7 has released an Ultimates version, which has a little bit of glue residue that comes off very easily. You got an Ultimates version, much like Super7 did with their Ultimates He-Man. You basically get the Matty Collector Lion-O with a couple of extras on it. So there you go. Case in point, plastic finds a way. If you're patient, you will eventually get that thing that you wanted. You can get it for a pretty decent price. I mean, it's not cheap, but compared to what the Matty Collector version is going for on eBay, which is so much money, you get a brand new figure, never touched, well, other than the people who packaged it and made it, in a really nice box. I guess I'll take a second to just talk about the box for a second, because that's always a big thing for me. There's a really nice red foil material on the front here, very reflective, very nice, and very simple outer box. And as you saw, I didn't mention it, but it comes in this mailer box that was similar to the Matty Collector figures, and I like how that just slides off. Really beautiful presentation. Once again, making it feel more like a piece of art than a children's toy. And I actually don't see anything on the box about what age group this is intended for, but this to me clearly seems as though it's they call it collectibles. I'll always call it art, toy artistry, intended for adults. Really nice artwork on the back here. There's Mumra, the Thundercats lair. Wouldn't it be amazing if Super7, I don't know if they still have the rights, but if they did their own rendition of the Thundercats lair. And there's the crew right there, with a little blurb right there. So let's open this Lion-O up. It looks pretty simple. Sometimes these boxes seem a little tricky. They've got a flap here and a flap there, and this one seems pretty easy. Just open it from the top. I like that this is sort of its own subline, Ultimates, which applies to Masters of the Universe and Thundercats now. And you can slide the figure out. Resealable packaging. Thank you, Super7, for that. It's nice when toy companies or toy artistry companies do that, and that takes me back. Yeah, that vintage packaging. I don't know if that's exactly the same as the old LJN Thundercats packaging, but I like that. That's cool. And holy cow, these are a lot of extras. Making me very happy, actually, that I missed that first Lion-O, because you get a whole bunch of extra things. On the flip side, since I was able to get the original Matty Collector Panthro, now when I see the Ultimates Panthro and I see all the extra cool stuff he came with, I say, dough, because I don't really want to drop $50 on a new Panthro figure just for the accessories. But in the end, I'm glad I missed that Lion-O, because even though I don't have the original Matty Collector Lion-O to compare with this, I kind of get the feeling if I had them side by side, I would go with this one. It comes with the Book of Omens, which I don't know why I'm testing the bendiness of this. I'm just curious, but cool little accessory. Love it when we get these little things like the Panthro came with this little key, and it also came with the Thundrillium detector. So more of these little Thundercats artifacts are definitely welcomed. And the original Matty Collector Lion-O came with 2 claw shields, and this one comes with a whopping 4. You get twice as many claw shields. That is really cool. So there's a claw shield that attaches to the side as Lion-O. Ooh, you want to be careful with that. That looks like that could be a breakage point. You want to be much more gentle with that than I just was. Yeah, that I don't know if that has a lot of give to it, but Lion-O would wear the claw shield on his side. So this is more of a relaxed look to it, and that looks like it's strictly intended for hanging on the side. The miniature Sword of Omens, does it come out? I would imagine it does. Yeah, it does. It's in there pretty tight. That's an interesting, really short, thin blade on it. It's more like the Ice Pick of Omens than the Sword of Omens. I'm thinking of the Bandai little one, which I'll compare. Here's the smaller version of the Sword of Omens from the Bandai release, Classics Lion-O, compared with the new Ultimates. And yeah, the blade is just a little wider on this one. This is so floppy material. Not so bad on the short Sword of Omens, but on the longer one, it's just abysmal. A little sturdier on this. Plastic feels a little better, a little sturdier on that one. So that's cool that you get the small Sword of Omens, which Lion-O can hold or store in the claw shield. Seems to come out a little bit easier after you've pulled it out that initial time. Then there's another claw shield here, and they're going for 2 different looks here. So the Matty Collector one had one of these 2 looks. It was more of this fuzzy look to it with the sculpted hair, and then the Ultimates version comes with this one, which I prefer. I like this more metallic. It's got a very subtle gold metallic paint job to it. So there's 2 versions of it. There's this one, which can hang off of Lion-O's belt and store the small Sword of Omens. And then there's the one that you actually put in the hand peg and use. So these are the exact same look. Like they have a little recess there to hold a sword. And the fingers are pretty much in the same spot. It'd be so cool if the claws came out with the grappling hook, but it's kind of hard to do with such a small thing. So yeah, you can take your pick between the 2. Interesting thing with the fuzzy, I'll call it, claw shield that attaches to the belt. The miniature Sword of Omens does not come out. It's actually, the handle is just molded coming out of that. So there you go. You get those 2 if you want them. Options are nice. And you get a bunch of hands. The original Matty Collector Lion-O had a total of 3 flesh hands. So he had 1 right hand and 2 left hands. And this one comes with a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 So you get various holding poses, gripping hands. It's always nice when you get options for those. Those look almost identical. It's funny to me when you get these multiple hands and they're almost identical. They're so subtly, the fingers are just in a very, very subtle different position. I mean, that's a detail aficionado's dream come true. If you want to really look close to see the difference between those. I mean, the difference between those is very clear to me. One's more open, one's more closed, but you get more of those. And then a huge one is when they include an entire extra head. Ooh, cat-like reflexes there. You get an extra head of Lion-O really bearing his fangs. Got lucky on the paint job there, didn't get any derpy eyes. Good eyebrow paint application, really nice. Nice paint application there from Super7. I'm just going to check this one too. I think I prefer this head. Good eye paint applications on him too. But I am a fan of options, so if you want, I wonder how back in the olden days, in the early years of the classics, it used to be so hard to get these heads off. And now it seems a lot easier to get them off. To get them on is maybe a different story. It didn't really pop on nice and secure. Oh, there we go. So there is Lion-O with his fierce face. And if you want him to be holding the Sword of Omens, you're going to have to do a hand swap. Since the hands, it's not terrible. It's loose, which might actually be nicer for avoiding paint wear. But including all the extra hands is a nice gesture, but let's see how tough they are, because all the extra hands in the world are useless if the plastic on the peg is too weak and tears or breaks off in there. These seem to pop in and out pretty easily. Nice satisfying popping sound, so that's not too bad. And nice bendy plastic here. So you're not going to break the fingers, you're also not going to, well, the sword, which I haven't really taken a look at yet, it's not painted on the hilt, which is nice. You're not going to scratch any paint off the hilt. Nice, more rigid, stiffer quality plastic than the stuff used on the horrible Bandai sword. Just awful. The Bandai sword just, it curves just from being held like that. So I like that the fingers, you don't even have to use a hairdryer. You can just bend them open, fit the sword in. Now, a big reason why I like the Bandai figure is because he can actually hold the sword two-handed. I like any figure that can hold a sword two-handed. Like Classified Snake Eyes. This guy, yep, he's got the same problem as Masters of the Universe Classics. Look at that. He does not want to hold the Sword of Omens two-handed. He might have better luck. Let's put the claw shield hand in. And pop that in. Nice and easy. Yeah, it's... Wow, that's a big claw shield. It seems much bigger. It seems too big, actually. Yeah, first time I've handled this mold with this claw shield on his hand. The Bandai one I think is better, and I'll get to a comparison in a sec, but, well, in a few minutes. But he can't really two-hand the sword. That's one of the important things. It's like He-Man holding the sword aloft, pointing it up at the sky and saying, "By the power of Grayskull." Lion-O, this figure can't really hold the Sword of Omens in front of his eyes. Do the sight beyond sight. Yeah, you can get it, but the point is, it's too much work and not enough fun. That's what I always mean when I say you can't do it. Yeah, sometimes you can, but it's too much work and not enough fun. So that's too bad that they didn't try to improve the posability of the shoulders. So any limitations that the Classics He-Man figures have, the Thundercats figures have as well. I did have a little bit more luck two-handing the sword without the claw shield, just using the unclawed hand. It doesn't quite look as good as the Bandai version. I mean, it's okay, but if you look at it from the sides, it looks like joints not bending as far as they should be. Just doesn't look as natural as the Bandai version. That's not bad though. Just kind of holding it to the side, kind of like a Snake Eyes looking type of pose. So doesn't really line up with the eyes as nicely as I had hoped, but that's not bad at all right there. Just like a simple two-handed pose. That's about it. That's all the range. I mean, that classified Snake Eyes figure, he can do everything. Sword overhead, in behind, lunging. This guy, nothing. Different body construction, and it makes a big difference. You know, in the longevity and the creativity of the toy or figure or toy artistry of it too. You know, it's not something that feels as though it's imbued with endless potential, kind of like a 12-inch figure of all of the poses that you can achieve with this and never get tired of it. This is about it. I don't know what else you can really do with this based on the limits of the joints. There's one other thing I was concerned about. The ankles on the He-Man figures are terrible. Generally terrible, and these are actually pretty good. They don't feel too loose. And he's pretty sturdy. Give him the wiggle test. And he's not falling over. One thing I'm noticing is these shorts that he's got here, that actually come loose. It's kind of like a skirt with a break in the middle. It's nice. Looks like the outfit is supposed to look, but it's impeding the hip. So it stops his leg from bending any forward further, which really cuts down on his action poses. You want him to be able to sink, and I'll show you the Bandai figure, sink into some really dynamic poses. And that rubber skirt is cutting back on that, although I do like the ankle tilt, which lets him be a little sturdier for those poses. It is a little tough to balance him though. So yeah, that's one of the big limits. The joints though, just talking about the joints in general, they feel really good. He's got a good ab crunch. It's not too loose. Head articulation looks great. That came off really easy. Put this head back on because I just prefer this one. Can he hold the Sword of... Yeah, he can. Hold the Book of Omens. It's got the Sword of Omens and the Book of Omens. And to show you what he looks like with a couple of other Thundercats Classics figures, here he is with Classics Panthro. You know, with the original Thundercats figures, they had such height differences, which was really refreshing. Because G.I. Joe, Star Wars figures, so many of them were so similar. You had Panthro being much shorter than Lion-O. Lion-O was much taller than Tigra. Chitara was shorter than Lion-O also. The problem with using these He-Man Bucks bodies is that they're generally all the same size. So you can get a little bit of a height difference thanks to poofy hair. But for the most part, Lion-O and Panthro are very similar, and there's always going to be people who go, yeah, well, in the cartoon, that's how it was. I'm more of a toy memory guy when it comes to toys than it has to be cartoon accurate in the toy. So them being exactly the same size, I would have preferred if Lion-O was a little bit taller, but I know you can't really do that if you're using the same body and trying to save money on arms and legs. two characters that this Lion-O is definitely taller than, because they did use completely different bodies, are the Wily kittens, the Thunder Kittens, Wily Kit and Wily Cat, who can't stand on their own worth a lick. So much like the original toys and on the show, much bigger than the two kittens. And an appropriate comparison, I think, would be with Classics He-Man, since they're built off of the same body, same height, same limitations. You know, I'm glad that Mattel and now Super7 are doing these figures. It's cool to have any Thundercats, but I don't picture Thundercats being built off of Masters of the Universe figures. Using Masters of the Universe bodies for wrestlers like Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, and Jake the Snake, awesome idea. Using Masters of the Universe bodies for Thundercats figures, I don't know. Thundercats were more lithe. They're cats. I didn't picture them as being really stocky and muscular and powerful looking. I pictured them like this. And here is the fantastic Bandai Classics Lion-O, who can double hand his sword. It's such a shame they didn't make more of these. He's quite a bit taller than Classics Lion-O, and unfortunately he's too tall for the other Classics figures. Although that's not shabby. I mean, if you want to really go by the original toy height, that's actually close. But comparing these two side by side, you know, I still prefer this one. I like his increased range in his legs, because he doesn't have those kind of hip skirts. He can really sink in to these deep lunges, work those glutes out. The claw shield can attach to the side, but instead of having this peg permanently always there on the side, you can just pull this thing out and set it aside somewhere, or just have it hang there loose. That's fine too. I like the gold on the Bandai claw shield more. It's so awesome to be able to double hand the sword, and also just do that. Sword of Omens give me sight beyond sight, and you can do the whole gimmick with the Sword of Omens while you're calling the other Thundercats. One thing the Super7 / Mattel version is much better in spades is, look at this awfulness. This is terrible. I mean, that just warps on its own. So it's quite a bit bigger. I like that it's bigger and longer, but it's so floppy for safety reasons. It's way too floppy. The exclusive version of this Lion-O that came with a chrome sword, that sword is much better. It doesn't flop around like that. But yeah, the sword unfortunately on the Bandai version is abysmal. And for those who are curious, if you want to do a swap, he stands so much better than He-Man figures. Pop that out, put that in. I have a feeling it's going to be way too, well, it's a little on the small side. Yeah, it's definitely a little on the small side. The advantage of the Bandai one also is that he has some silver coloration on his belt and some metallic paint coloration on the Thundercats symbol on his belt. This one is just all flat colors, nothing metallic on it. More muted, matte look to it. And just his skin in general is more muted. It's more of like a tan or khaki or brown, whereas the colors on this guy really pop, really bright. He's got bright orange hair compared to the duller hair of the Super7 version. Duller blue, duller everything. Just prefer him in almost every single way. And the claw shield on the Bandai version seems to be a better size too. I'm not sure why they made this claw shield so huge Maybe it was that big on the show, but it feels like it's the exact same size, if not bigger than it is. It's bigger than the Bandai claw shield. Why would it be? I'm not sure. You can see this sword just from hanging like that. I try to turn it a certain way so that the blade won't warp. If it's just like this, I've come back after a couple of weeks and the sword has just been like that from buckling under its own weight. Whoops. So definitely this Lion-O, another advantage is that he stands a little bit better than the Bandai version. And the final side-by-side comparison is with the original Lion-O. Talk about popping. Colors that pop. This guy is just super bright. Wow, they're about the same height. I didn't realize that. Almost exactly the same height. So if they are, then definitely the Panthro should have been shorter. But there you go. If you can't afford an original Lion-O, or if you're past this limited style of articulation, if you want a little bit more articulation, not much more, but a little bit more, then this Classics or Ultimates Lion-O, not exactly, very, very affordable, but it's got enough options that it can keep you busy. It can stay fresh with the different head, claw shield, hand options. As a almost lifelong Thundercats fan, it's nice. It's not bad. It's not a total wash. It's not a total pass. Even though I've never handled the original Matty Collector Lion-O, I'll say just from comparing pictures, this one is a step up. It's an improvement over the original one. And although he doesn't have any electronics, if you're handy with a soldering iron and you've got one of these original light up ring gimmicks, it's not too difficult to do a little upgrade on your Lion-O and give him sight beyond sight. So that's Super7's Ultimates Lion-O. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Is it a step up from the Matty Collector version? Is it a step up from the Bandai Classics version? And thank you to the Patreon tribe for all of your support. A warm welcome to new Patreon tribe member Rab Askew. Hope you enjoy the over 100 exclusive videos, roundtables, and watch parties. And welcome to new channel members who hit that join button: Micah, Jaden V, Sean Turner, Marcus Gurley, Gaz, and MC DJ ACDC. Enjoy your custom loyalty badges and emojis in the comments and live streams. Much love to each and every one of you who supports the channel and also makes the Patreon tribe page the most fun place on the internet for me. Feel free to share the video with other Thunder Feline fans, and to join the tribe, claw subscribe. Nerdmaste, Nerdmaste, Nerdmaste. Ho!